because of my Osiris Red Pack discussion video that I've just done this afternoon for two reasons. One, because it made me want to do some character deck stuff, which is ironic because Alexis really didn't come off too well on that video, with Prima Light not being that exciting of a card. And the other reason is that it reminded me about the ice cards that she's about to get, so I need to get this profile before they come out, and then I can do another profile when they come out. So this one is a relative newcomer in the character deck pool, really, which is funny because I had the basic plan for the deck like 7 years ago, 8 years ago even, 2017. I had the basic idea for the deck, and I genuinely had this in old sleeves just sat around for years. It was literally just sat on top of a cupboard for a few years before last year I finally put it together, gave it its own sleeves, and so on and so forth. Now, just before we get into this, a couple of rule clarifications, etc. for our character decks. We play it in a particular way. It's almost more like role-playing than a particular format, and we do have a few different rules that we follow. Most of which will flash up on your screen now, but a general overview is we try and stick to one copy of each card. Unless they use multiple copies, it only works in multiple copies, or if it's kind of funny and it gets you to 40 cards. We also allow everyone to use one copy of Card of Sanctity, Pot of Greed, and Graceful Charity, and that leads me on to the other thing, that anime effects take precedence over actual effects where relevant. We also put ritual and composite monsters like Valkyrian, etc. in the extra deck. Really cool card. Really nice. I love having this first edition elemental energy one in such good condition. While your opponent controls one monster, it can be destroyed by battle. While your opponent only controls 2 monsters, it doubles the attack of this card. And while your opponent only controls 3 monsters, this card negates the effect of your opponent's spell trap and effect monster cards. So it really goes ham if your opponent has 3 cards. I remember one time my opponent couldn't get over this because it couldn't be destroyed by battle. So he summoned another card and then it doubled its attack. So yeah, it can be a tricky one to play around, really. But yeah, just a super cool card. Yeah, I really love Cyberblader. Really cool. Next up, we are going to go against one of the rules I just said, and we are going to look at the Cyber Angels, who go in the main deck in this deck. And there's 2 reasons for that. So we've got Dakini, Ada-10, and Benton, obviously. And the reason why these are in the main deck this is twofold. First of all, it could use the cards in the main deck. Second of all, honestly, if these were in the extra deck and you could just rip out whichever one you want whenever, you know, you have Machine Angel Ritual, you are never going into Ada-10 over Benton, and that's kind of sad. And if you're overpaying for them, you're never going to go into either of them over Dakini. So, yeah, there's kind of that part to it. You kind of have to ignore part of the text on these cards because this was like the first wave of when these cards were released in real life and were given like an extra effect that they don't have in the anime. So Dakini sends the monster to grave, Benton does piercing, and Ada-10 returns the Machine Angel Ritual to your hand, I believe. They're pretty cool. So initially when I came up with the deck idea, these didn't exist, and I think they were previewed shortly after, which was really cool. And then obviously I picked them up when they came out, and then they've sat there. I mean, I did try to play a Cyber Angel deck at one point, but generally speaking, they've just sat there ever since until I finally put the deck together. Next, we're into the main deck tribute monsters. First of all, we have White Knight Dragon. So glad that I picked this up when I did. It is and or was a quite expensive card because of Edison, and it's absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Negate the activation of spells and traps to target it and destroy them. When a face-up monster you control is selected as an attack target, you can discard a spell or trap to change the target to this card. And a Blue Eyes White Dragon stat monster is pretty good in this format as well. I actually got this off a friend, I believe, who I got all kinds of really cool stuff off for this deck. For other decks as well, but mostly stands out for this deck because I also got, not as cool, White Knight Queen from him. This has no right to be a 2 tribute monster. I know that like there's certain cards where it's like, okay, it probably should be 1 tribute, but it pays you back in other ways. No. This can't even be special summoned. This is just a 2 tribute 2100 800 monster, and once per turn you can target a set card and destroy that target. You would think that was good, and at the time they probably thought this was a good effect. But going through the effort of tributing 2 monsters for it, and then just getting beaten to death anyway, not worth it. Terrible card. Honestly, this would probably be rife for the drop when the ice stuff came out. if it wasn't thematic when the ice stuff comes out. Next, we have Cyber Prima, really cool card. I just realized when I was putting the deck together, it only destroys all face-up spell cards, when it's tribute summoned. So when Prima Light comes out, the effect doesn't even work. But at least we can kind of cheat out a 1 tribute beta, so that's not really bad. I got this from the same guy as well, but I would like an older print of this, I think. I would like an original print. Next is the MVP of the tribute monsters, as daft as this might sound. This is Mind on Air. I might have got this off the same guy as well, to be honest. But anyway, this was just a random janky card she had in her hand the first time she dueled, and happened to be something that I thought was like cool and creepy when I was a kid. And I thought, well, chuck it in, because I like putting weird rubbish cards in character decks and waiting for them to do something funny. And I really didn't have to wait long. I 2-0'd someone with this once. We had one game where we couldn't really get into it, and where we sort of both ran out of monsters, but I managed to tribute someone into this and just started hitting him for a K. And then the second game, I was in a comfortable position to win and just tribute summoned this and attacked him for game with that again. So that was really funny. And the really funny thing is, because your opponent has to show you your hand, when you go for the baller play of tributing into Mind on Air and using a 1k beta, you can see if your opponent's drawn anything to out you. And all of a sudden, it becomes a lot of fun. It is kind of funny seeing your opponent's hand. And there was a third time that I summoned this against someone else in a funny application, but I can't say I particularly remember what that was. Some cards are just lucky like that. Some cards are just janky. They just cheese their way into always being in the right place at the right time to be a funny inclusion. But the interesting thing is, once the ice stuff comes out, Ice Queen needs spellcaster monsters, and Mind on Air is a spellcaster monster, so she is definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. Next up, we have the vanilla monsters. First of all, we have one copy of Gemini Elf. She used this in a flashback, and again, we are really kind of trying to force it to 40 cards. And when you look at some of the weak monsters and disjointed bricks and stuff you can draw into with this deck, I really don't feel bad for playing it. Next, we have 2 copies of Blade Skater. Without them, you would just never see Cyberblader. When the ice monsters come out, I might drop this down to 1. Yeah, I don't really know. One thing I know for sure is that I want to keep Cyberblader being relatively consistent. There is another use for those as well, but we'll get into that in a second. And then we have the 2 copies of Etoile Cyber to go with them. Again, same logic. You want to get into Cyberblader every now and then. It's still a kind of cool card, and honestly, there aren't a lot of bodies. This is like a 15 card monster count, even with the Cyber Angels. So I really don't feel bad about pinning 2 copies of Etoile Cyber and Blitzgear. They might get dropped down though when the ice stuff comes out. We do have reinforcement of the army as an option as well to search them out. So then we have Cyber Gymnast. Really good spot removal. It always was. She never really got the credit she deserved. Once per turn, by discarding 1 card, destroy 1 face-up attack position monster on your opponent's side of the field. That's great. And obviously, in anime context, well, you can summon in face-up defense mode, so she could sit on that 1800 ass and then just pop something. So yeah, really, really cool. Next, we have Cyber Tutu. She doesn't really come into her own as often as you would like. You'd think there'd be weird games where you were just stuck in lockdown and she can just poke away at people, but no, she very rarely survives your opponent's turn. I guess it's just the inherent nature of her only being able to attack directly if your opponent has a bigger monster out. You know, still cool. Next, we have Cyber Petite Angel. Really cool. When this is summoned, add Cyber Angel monster or Machine Angel ritual from deck to hand. It's nice to just be able to grab whatever you need. That's very cool. There are some consistency cards in this deck, to be fair. Next, we have another one, Manju of the 10,000 Hands. Now, this in any other character deck can only search ritual spells, obviously, because the ritual monster is in the extra deck. But in this one, it can do both, which is weird. We might need to look into that. And then we're into the spell card lineup. So we've got 2 copies of Machine Angel Ritual. Again, I really don't feel bad about this. The fact of the matter is, we've got 3 Machine Angels. Having 1 copy of Machine Angel Ritual isn't gonna do it justice. And theoretically, if we summoned all 3 in one game, we could do that because Editon does recycle 1. But yeah, it's 2 copies. It's fine. It's really no one's gonna be mad about this. Next, we have 1 copy of Advanced Ritual Art. That is the other use for Blade Skater. Obviously, we have 3 vanilla targets for Advanced Ritual Art. This will almost certainly get dropped when the ice stuff comes out because I don't really have a leg to stand on defending this. There is absolutely no providence or reasoning for Alexis using this card as far as I'm aware. But yeah, you know, it's nice. It's better than having the 3rd copy of Machine Angel Ritual, you know. Next, we have Ritual Sanctuary. Really not as good a card in the anime as it is in real life. I think it literally just has the I think it literally has like discard a fairy, add a ritual spell effect. So it could be useful, but more often than not, it's not. You almost never see it when you need it as well. And then we have some ritual equips, a bit different. We got fulfillment of the contract. This is really cool. It's just recursion. If you summoned any of the cyber angels during the game, you can just bring the body back and use it for whatever you need it for. So yeah, really, really cool. And the other ritual equip is ritual weapon. This is really good because, all of a sudden you slap this on Benton or Editon, they turn into a 3k beta. Suddenly they're really good. So yeah, it's really cool. And on that note, the next card we have is Fusion Weapon. Alexis is the only character that used both of them. And in fact, I think there's not an awful lot of people that use Fusion Weapon at all. But it's really nice. And I have used both in one game once, and you kind of feel bad about it. But at the same time, you kind of have to look at the disjointed, low attack monsters, bricks, low monster count. The amount of the 15 card monster count that's tribute monsters as well. The answer is 7. All of a sudden you really don't feel bad about fusion weaponing or ritual weaponing someone. Speaking of fusion weapon, we got the polymerization. Literally just one copy. As much as it's nice to have a bit of consistency about your fusions, I only play more than one polymerization if they have more than one fusion. Even then, it usually has to be like 3 or more. But yeah, that's how we get into our Cyberblader, obviously. And then we have the Warrior Package, Reinforcement of the Army, and Warrior Returning Alive. You could make an argument that everyone in GX can use these 2 cards. But obviously, again, it just gives us access to our Etoile Cyber or Cyberblader in both regards. You can let one go and die because, you got Warrior Returning Alive, or you can search one for the other material with Reinforcement of the Army. Both really good options. Next, we have Swing of Memories, the card that Alexis used to bring Atticus's memory back. We allow every GX character to use Silent Doom because it was just so widely used in the anime, but I think, this is just a bit more flavorful. The fact of the matter is, there's not that many normal monster targets, so I wasn't going to give her both, and it frees up the Silent Doom copies for other decks. Then we have Stray Lambs. Very useful in this deck, wherein we have a 15 card monster count and 8 of them are normal summonable. I tell a lie, it's 9. It's 9 monsters are summonable. So technically we have 10 and 11 with the Stray Lambs. We have MST, obviously, nice staple. Not everyone played MST in the anime, so we don't let everyone play MST. But if they played MST in the anime, then you're playing MST in the character deck. And then, of course, we have the draw package, of course. Next up, we have the trap cards. First of all, we have Double Passé. I think it was just a French words that I thought sounded cool when I was a kid, but I was so happy when this card finally got printed. And it's pretty good as well. Again, it lets you sort of be brave with your Etoile Cyber and kind of poke about with that, see what's what, knowing you also have this to protect it. And then she can swing for 17 direct next turn if you didn't draw into anything you can use her for or anything like that. And if she dies after that, she dies, but at least she didn't die the first time. So yeah, really cool card. Next, we have Hallowed Life Barrier. Really cool card, as underrated, cards that anime characters used go. Discard a card, Waboku, really cool. So the next card is Waboku. So I think I initially dug this out because I couldn't find a Hallowed Life Barrier, and then I found the Speed Duel one. But this is basically replacing Spirit Barrier. As I say, I've only played Alexis for like a year or so, if that, and Bastion I've played since like 2017 at least, possibly 2016, and I've never given him a Spirit Barrier, so Alexis wasn't going to get one either. Spirit Barrier is like a £5 rare, it's ridiculous, but the Waboku's there for the time being, just to fill the gap, as opposed to just having a backwards proxy for Spirit Barrier. Honestly, I don't think she necessarily needs Spirit Barrier because she so often doesn't have any monsters. But yeah, a recurring theme of this build, I really don't feel bad about playing Waboku over, it's a one-off Spirit Barrier as opposed to a permanent Spirit Barrier, so I can live with that. Next we have Arrival Appears. This is a really cool card. I've always loved this card. You select a face monster on your opponent's side of the field, special summon one monster with the same level from your hand. And that's really useful in a deck like this that has so few monsters, being able to accelerate your summoning and stuff like this. I loved this card so much when I was a kid. I put this in everything. And next we have Call of the Haunted. Again, another card that was really widely used in GX, but because it's recursion, it feels too good to let everyone use it. But yeah, if they have it, you use it. Then we have Spell Shield Type 8. Always nice to have a little counter trap. 2 counter trap options in there as well. So yeah, really cool. And then Alexis had some really gnarly trap cards beyond that. First of all, she got Mirror Force. Can't go wrong with Mirror Force, right? And finally, Solemn Judgment. We actually used to have like a running joke about how all the character decks I chose played Solemn Judgment. And then I kind of dropped it in Trudge because it felt like unfair. the Solemn Judgment in Trudge was based on a video game use of it. And then I put Alexis back together and, well, she took his spot. So yeah, back to playing about 4 character decks with Solemn Judgment in them. But that is everything for this deck. So like I say, we will be profiling it again when the ice stuff comes out. And then probably again when we get the Osiris Red pack over here in the TCG. But yeah, that is it for today. So if you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to check out more character deck profiles, you can check them out in the character deck playlist in the end screen. And I really do appreciate you guys joining me. So thank you all for watching, and goodbye. Really wish I'd timed that so that I said goodbye as I put the last card down. Never mind. I didn't put the last cards down. So thank you all for watching, and goodbye. Damn it. Goodbye.